Ladies and gentlemen, the European Union is running out of time. This is not the story we've been told lately. Things are supposedly great again. The euro area is expected to grow at the breakneck speed of 2.3% in 2018. The turning point away from almost a solid decade of bad news from Europe was an election held in France in April and May of 2017. There was a serious concern that Marine Le Pen's Front National would win the election. Nationalist parties like Le Pen's had been steadily gaining power throughout the European Union, with the June 2016 Brexit vote being their greatest victory. Anti-EU nationalists running Poland or Hungary are one thing, but if the Eurosceptic Le Pen had won in France, one of the EU's two most important countries, the show would probably have been over. Thankfully, the very pro-European Union Emmanuel Macron saved the day. Macron gets a lot of good press, and it's easy to see why. I actually think his accomplishment deserves more credit, not less. With a party that he had founded just 1 year before, he won the presidency. He didn't just beat Le Pen, he also blew the established two-party system in France completely out of the water. Can you imagine how cool it would be if somebody did that in the United States? So Macron won the presidency. Then his party went on to win a parliamentary majority. And then, last fall, he managed to reform the labor market in a way that his three predecessors failed to do. Macron does give me a lot of hope. But there is another aspect to that election last May. Marine Le Pen's party got 33% of the vote. 4 years ago, when her party got 24.8% of the vote in European elections, I was optimistic, even though many others were freaking out. I thought the French nationalists couldn't possibly get more than a quarter of the vote. Well, I was wrong about that. People seem to have tuned out Le Pen's steady march towards power. Macron is impressive. But he could also be the EU's last chance in France. And the French elections weren't the only ones last year. In Germany, everybody was pleased when their nationalist party only managed to become the third largest party in parliament after almost tripling its vote. Austria's nationalist party is now part of the governing coalition. Italy's election next week is expected to result in more victories for anti-EU or at least strongly Eurosceptical parties. The return of economic growth has given the EU some breathing room. But the Union is shaky, and there's a lot less money to go around in the new post-Brexit budget that's being negotiated this year. I guess what I'm trying to say is that this break from crisis could be very brief, and it must not be squandered. When people talk about the end of the EU, they act as if we're just talking about the end of an overly socialized bureaucratic mess. If that were all the European Union was, I certainly wouldn't miss it. But we are also talking about the end of a force for stability and shared goals in Europe. Just because I may disagree with some of those goals doesn't mean I want this platform for peace taken away. Stable, well-established countries like France and Germany would be likely to take an economic hit from the end of the EU, but otherwise they'd probably be fine. For countries further from the core, however, the potential end of the EU is likely to be a much, much more serious issue. We're already seeing new rumblings in the Balkans and on the border with Russia to the east. And Spain is currently dealing with a resurgence of the Catalan independence movement, which is what we will deal with next time. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. And thanks to the producer and patrons that made this video possible. If you'd like a free essay on a completely different topic, I suggest you sign up for my email newsletter. Thanks.